there really was a liberal media bubble. And guess what? It hasn't gone away. Take a look at the latest examples of bias from the king of fake news, Mr. Brian Williams himself.
No serious person would say what he did. President Trump offered no evidence. There is no evidence, so we are left with a reckless smear of a former president. In that way, it was a stunner of a weekend here and abroad. The office of the president, if not the occupant, must speak with moral authority, especially at a time when North Korea is lobbing 4 missiles into the sea off Japan.
And then there's MSNBC's poor Mika Brzezinski. She's losing it lately, suggesting that Trump is potentially threatening global security. Take a look at this hysteria.
I will just say that what I think we're seeing across the board here is potentially threatening to our global security.
I agree with you.
On every level. And I urge people to read and really make decisions about exactly what they're seeing. I understand why so many people voted for him. I understand where you were coming from. I understand why you liked him. But this man is lying to you.
Here with reaction, former Obama economic advisor, hysterical at times himself, Austin Goolsbee, and U.S. political editor at dailymail.com, David Martosco is with us. Austin, look, I love you. Are you really afraid of Trump? Are you really worried like your liberal, hyperventilating, hysterical brethren on the left?
No, hysterically funny.
Well, it is kind of funny to me, to be honest, watching you snowflakes freak out every day.
Now, look, Sean, the thing is, the biggest network on cable is your network. You've been extremely positive on Donald Trump. On the very shows that you're talking about with Mika Brzezinski, there's a former Republican congressman sitting right next to her who provides a different perspective.
Well, by the way, we call him Liberal Joe. Liberal Joe has lost his conservative credentials many years ago.
I know compared to you, Sean, they're all liberals, but I'm saying
that's true.
There are many different media sources, and that some of them are liberal and some are conservative. That's healthy. There's nothing wrong with that.
All right, fair enough. But, David, I do think that, you know, for Nate Silver to admit that, I thought showed a lot of character on his part. I've never been the biggest fan. He was wrong a lot during the election. He'd been right in past years. You know, give him some credit. His models were interesting, but he talked about the liberal bubble. The Daily Mail is not really part of that bubble.
Well, we're not part of any bubble. We're really unique on the spectrum of media that's covering the president. I mean, I spent almost 2 years out on the trail covering Donald Trump when he was running. And I will tell you, if you think there is a liberal bias in political media, you really have no idea how right you are. I think Nate Silver hit the nail on the head in one respect. He said it's not just because they are that way. It's not just because they all share this political view. It's because they don't listen to people or have a lot of people around them who think differently. There's a lack of intellectual and ideological diversity in the media. I think it's fair to say that at least 9 out of 10 of the reporters covering Trump on the trail would never imagine voting for him. And I'll tell you, Martha Raddatz was not the only journalist crying on election night. I saw several at Trump's election victory party. That's just the way it is. Kudos to Nate Silver for finally calling it what it is.
You know, I mean, you got to admit there's some truth there. Austin, look, you're a pretty honest guy. We're never going to agree on the economy. We're never going to agree on, well, pretty much everything except that you married up. We agree on that. But short of that, I mean, you've got to admit the left's reaction is way over the top, and I would argue that liberal bubble exists. The Russia story we have now debunked. We have Sarah Carter, John Solomon, two well-respected investigative journalists, John Solomon for 20 years with AP, and he's saying, yeah, there was a FISA warrant, yeah, there was another warrant, yeah, there was surveillance at Trump Tower, and they found nothing, not one shred of evidence of collusion with the Russians. Which, how many months has the media been selling us that crap?
That's what I want to be true. That's what I want to be. Well, I don't want to find out that the president is engaged in some nefarious activity. And I agree that Nate Silver's point that the media live in a bubble, how can you not say that's true? They all predicted Trump was going to lose, and he didn't lose. But at the same time,
by the way, I'm in the media.
What are you saying?
I didn't predict that.
I know, but look,
I did predict Obama would be a failure, your friend.
Many in the media.
I was right about that, too.
My question to you, Sean, my question to you is this.
Okay.
Do you really want us to trust the government as much as what you're talking about? If Donald Trump hired a national security advisor and the media comes to find out that he was being paid as a lobbyist for a foreign country?
Okay, that's
do you really want them not to report that?
No.
Should they not say that? Of course they should
Listen
say
to me.
that.
That's legitimate. And even Trump said there's going to be stories I don't like, but it's legitimate journalism. Nobody's talking about shutting down the press. I'm saying there's this hyperventilating hysteria that has emerged, which is very different than what you're discussing. You know, but I would also add, and you should, as a liberal that believes in privacy, I assume, they shouldn't have leaked. They shouldn't have leaked from the intelligence community a conversation when they were surveilling not General Flynn, but the Russian ambassador. That's illegal. That's a violation of the Espionage Act, and that ended up in his career going up in smoke. So I would think on that issue, that's more important.
Yeah, look, I don't condone illegal leaks, and I don't condone the illegal leaks of WikiLeaks either. I have been very consistent on both sides that I don't like them releasing that kind of illegal
maybe Hillary, David, if she would keep her emails server where it's supposed to be and not put it in a mom and pop shop bathroom closet, and if Podesta didn't fall for phishing scams, that's not Donald Trump's fault.
Well, no, it's not. And let's be very clear about this. There are some very skilled, smart, and honest reporters covering the White House right now. But there are also some people who are just waking up every morning looking for the silver bullet that's going to kill the Trump monster. There are journalists like that. I think one of the things the Daily Mail has always been really good at is in just having a bias toward interesting stories. I mean, a lot of this stuff about Russia isn't all that interesting to people. It doesn't penetrate to, single moms in Peoria.
Not a shred of evidence has been presented, and they keep lying to the American people.
That may be true, but it's also just not that interesting a story. Look, I can speak for myself and my colleagues. We try to write things about characters and conflicts, but they have to be interesting stories.
All right. And by the way, I still like Austin Goolsbee. It's a weakness I have. I'm trying to get over my weaknesses in life.
Sean.
All right, coming up.